I am the CEO of the Disability Federation of Ireland, and I think it's really worth pointing out that there are 1.1 million disabled people in Ireland. That is 1/5 of our population have a disability. So when we talk about disability, we're talking about our friends, our neighbours, our colleagues, our family, people who we interact with every single day. So DFI is a member organisation. We have 120 members in every village, every town, every community in Ireland. But we're also really proud civil society organisation. So we work with all types of organisations to make sure that civil society's voices are heard in Ireland. We also are members of the European Disability Forum, which is a civil society organisation in Europe, and we also work internationally. And as I stand here today, I feel the weight of responsibility on my shoulders, to be honest, and to say things are hard in our sector. I also feel responsible to be realistic and to say that for many people in this room, keeping the doors open and the lights on are an everyday struggle. But I also feel a responsibility to be hopeful and optimistic, because there are opportunities. And days like today give us the chance to come together and think about those opportunities. As Henry Ford once said, if you always do what you always did, then you'll always get what you always got. So I say that now in our sector, it's time to make a change, because that's not good enough anymore. We have to do differently so that we get different outcomes and different results. We must challenge ourselves in the sector, as well as our government colleagues, and I was really glad to see Minister Button were able to stay for this session, because sometimes we look over there and say, if only they did better. And really what we have to say is, can we do better so that they can do better with us? It's not all about them doing better. So I think we're at a crossroads. And if we imagine ourselves, the road behind us is the road we know. It's the familiar road. It sometimes feels comfortable. It's the way we do business around here. But it is also marked by underfunding, by burnout and disjointed systems that don't work for the populations that we serve. And to our right, you're right, is this kind of growing threat that Alexandrina mentioned about kind of far-right voices, the move towards undermining human rights, the move towards undermining our communities. But there's also on our right-hand side this creeping privatisation conversation that's happening. Did you know that in Ireland, 80% of our older persons' nursing care is provided by the for-profit sector? And 12% of our disability residential places are in the for-profit sector. Now that's an interesting statistic, and I think this time next year, this time 2 years, 3 years, it will be interesting to find out what does that percentage look like then. Will it be greater? Why is it greater? I think it's greater because there's profits to be made. Our for-profit colleagues don't come with the same value and the same sense of community that we bring, and that's why this sector really matters. If we don't pay attention, we might not exist, and the for-profit sector will. I don't think we're there yet. We haven't kind of crossed that crossroads just yet. So that's on our right-hand side. And on our left-hand side, we've a dangerous road. And I'm really conscious that the charities regulator is up in a minute or two, so when I say this with the greatest respect. On our left-hand side, there is this kind of focus on governance, on finance, on compliance, on data, on transparency. And they all matter. They absolutely do. But they encourage us to close our doors and look inwards, look at ourselves as organisations. And they become the destination, having a balanced book, having the reports filed on time, meeting all the compliance demands, become what we do. But they're not our mission. Our mission is the people that we support and that we serve. So good governance allows us to do the work that we want to do and need to do, but it is not their work. And then I would suggest to you the road ahead is a bumpy and unknown road, but it holds the possibility of something better. It's a road where our sector is not just filling gaps that the state are not providing. It's where we're recognised as critical delivery partners, where we're the experts in communities that we support, and we become the drivers of high-quality, person-centred services. And here's why I think that road offers us those opportunities. Because in disability services, we're starting to see that road ahead of us. We're particularly glad to see a commitment in the programme for government, and thank you, Minister, for mentioning it, of the whole of government approach to these issues. So I would say in the last 6 months, I have spoken to people in the Department of Housing, Transport, Education, Social Protection, Health, Children, Community and Rural Affairs, Local Government, and the Department of Public Spending and Reform. All very good people, all doing the very best that they can do within the system, but all working in their silos, in their world, not really able to understand that if you do something good here, it impacts positively over there. So a whole of government approach really does offer us the opportunity to rethink that landscape. And we have a new set of principles in disability services and in health in general called the partnership principles, and some people will know what they are. But it's about reassessing our relationship with the state, where how we talk to the state and how they talk with us has changed, and it's now based on a set of principles. So some of the principles, I won't give you them all, but some of the principles are trust and respect, solution-focused, and transparency. But it's important to know that while we require and we ask the state to deal with us in that way, we also have a responsibility to be trustful. We also have a responsibility to be transparent and provide information. So this is a two-way conversation that needs to happen. And there's also the Dialogue Forum, which was set up under the Department of Health. And that's a place where tricky, challenging conversations can be had under the careful, watchful eye of an independent chair. And that's a really useful space for these partnership principles to be used to have the tricky, difficult conversations that we need to have. So, all of this means there is momentum. But momentum without direction risks going nowhere. And that's where we come in, everybody in this room. Where do we want to go? What direction do we want to take? What does the path ahead look like with us? And I'm going to offer you a couple of suggestions to that. And the first one has been mentioned a few times, and it's collaboration. On this new path, we must learn to collaborate with each other. That doesn't mean that we give up our own mission, vision, values. It means that we work together to strengthen all of those. So let me ask you, how often have you heard or thought the following? How come they got funding again? Like, we do twice the work with half the resources, and they got it. Well, they're at the table, but really, what do they deliver? Well, they must have got it because it's who you know, isn't it? So they are all comments that are born out of frustration and out of the reality of divide and conquer. I'm not saying that divide and conquer is a strategy anyone would use against us, but if they chose to, we keep playing into that. We keep giving them those. So, for collaboration, it's time to stop competing with each other. It's time to stop undermining each other. And it's time to find ways of moving forward together. Oh, Kerry, please don't stand up just yet. Okay. I only got to 1C. I have another few. Okay, communicate. So I would challenge us all to use language that people can understand. We need to be able to have a shared language that I can understand, that my parents can understand, that my family can understand, that the media can understand. So, some of the language that we could use that is shared: rights, dignity, inclusion. No matter the population you're working with, they are things that we all strive for with the people that we support. The third C I offer you is celebrate. Let's celebrate our successes. We're often shy about the positive impact that we have. We need to tell our stories. We need to talk about improving lives. We need to talk about the impact that we have in communities. We need to talk about the isolation that has been eased. and we need to share that. The fourth C that we have is co-creation, and that's been mentioned a couple of times before. And co-creation is when we come to the table as equal but different partners with views that need to be heard and understood. Nobody at that table holds the higher moral ground. Nobody holds a position of power. And this morning we heard Minister Buttimer talk a little bit about some of the opportunities of co-creation. So I'd say let's not wait to be invited to the party. We need to put our hand out and say, we are here, we're ready to have this discussion with you. And the fifth C is one I just added in when I heard that the Minister was staying, and that is commitment. And it's a bit sneaky to add it in at the very end, so apologies. Commitment to sustainable funding for our critical work. We cannot continue to keep going where the funding we receive does not meet the full cost of service delivery. It can be done. There are examples. RTE hit the jackpot. They got multi-annual sustainable funding. It took a scandal. It took shock and outrage. It took political commentary. It took embarrassment. So we'd like to skip all of those parts. And we'd like to get to the part where there's vision and commitment to be different, to do different. So, Minister, I applaud your willingness to work with us and to understand the value of our sector, because without your partnership, we can't continue to provide our commitment to the people that we support. And the Minister added two other C's, which I've taken a note of: confidence and certainty. So they're going to appear in the next iteration of this. So I'll wrap up by saying that in 2024, Ireland's community and voluntary sector was massive. There was over 10 billion euros spent in our sector. So we're not marginal. We are very much part of the community and voluntary experience. We need to be considered in that light. And the road ahead is scary, it is challenging. It won't be easy, but it's ours to walk. So let's not walk off the pitch. Let's walk on the road together. Thank you.